Hey everyone, this is Mike, and I'm here with Isaac,
Hey,
and we're here to talk about some video games. More specifically, we're here to talk about GoG and their thoughts on the whole situation regarding payment processors. Things have settled down for the most part when it comes to the whole payment processor situation, but GoG is still on the forefront when it comes to the whole situation, and they want to discuss their thoughts on it, saying that this push from the payment processors is a big threat to the preservation of gaming as a whole, which is just point blank. I'm just gonna say that's something I completely agree with. Yeah, but regardless of that, they do have a lot to say, so we're gonna get into it. But before we do, please, if you like what we do, please rate, comment, and subscribe. Now, here's a article from Rock Paper Shotgun saying that GOG shares their thoughts on preservation in the face of payment processor crackdowns. Every game that disappears from a distribution is potentially lost to game preservation efforts. Now, yeah, as everyone knows, like in the past like few weeks and months, a lot of adult games have been taken off from uh lots of different like websites and storefronts, including Steam and HIO. And now the GOG has recently stated by their senior PR rep, and I'm not even going to pronounce that name.
Peter Gnip.
Okay, thank you. That is a weird way of saying like Peter Gnip. I'm sorry. That's a strange way of
It's
saying it.
Peter. It's like Peter, but it's Peter and just
Peter Gnip. Okay.
Peter Gnip.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. But yes, at GOG, a platform is devoted to good old games and video game preservation. We see as preservation issue every year. Many games are disappearing for various reasons. Every game that disappears from distribution is potentially lost to preservation efforts, and particularly worrying when games are potentially vanishing due to external pressures. Now, like as it's saying, like it was as mentioned, GOG did also have like a little effort to try to stand up for adult games, as they did a whole like freedom of purchasing like campaign where they gave away a bunch of mature and adult games to anyone who could obtain them within 24 to 72 hours, which is a really nice little nod, even though most of them were games that I personally wouldn't play. The only game there that I would even consider playing was Postal 2, which they gave away for free. But yeah, overall, their whole thoughts on the situation is a very positive one, and one that I wish a lot of game storefronts would take. Now, it is to be noted that a lot of people still are skeptical of good old games because they are owned by CD Projekt Red, and they have done some shady things in the past and have even removed certain games in the past on their own storefront, because it's not like an open storefront where like Steam, where you can just put in like you can just put in an application, and as long as it meets all the checks and balances, your game will be sold on their storefront. No, it's a more of a curated like storefront where only very specific games that they allow can get sold on their platform. So it is a little bit skeptical from some people saying that like they want to take a stand at delisting games when they themselves have delisted games in the past. No. After all that rambling, obviously I think I said enough, but now I like Isaac's take on this.
No, I think it's a very interesting topic about game preservation. Again, like you said, over the during the summer of 2025, there was a big issue in how payment processors dictated on what games were allowed to be sold. And like you said, whether or not these are games that people would honestly buy, it's a fact to be able, as consumer rights, be able to purchase these games and be able to have them ownership is one of the bigger issues that are kind of happening right now in this country, and probably in other countries too, that want to be able to purchase these games too. So a little bit of research, a lot of games that think about a lot of the games have been lost due to DRMs. Now, not all DRM is responsible for the loss of a lot of these games that are digitally, but a lot. And a couple of these games, like he's thinking about, are really good ones, like Assassin's Creed Vanguard, Silent Hunter 5, The Crew, which we've talked about plenty of times on this, is a big fight right now for people to be able to get this game. Spore, Dark Spore, certain games for Windows Live, Tron Evolution, Anno 2017. These are just a couple of games to list a few in terms of thousands of games that are lost. And another interesting situation that's also happening right now is like you think about it, and this is not the exact number. Almost 87% of games in the U.S. are non-playable and non-retrievable due to digital content. Again, once these games go on to these platforms, or when these platforms get shut down, the entire libraries are gone with it. Again, there was a big issue about that with the eShop, Nintendo's eShop. Think about that.
On the Wii.
On a Wii. That's a lot of games. A lot of great classic games are now wiped. Well, they're not wiped. They're under Nintendo's thumb. I believe that I hope that Nintendo has a back catalog so they'll be able to release these games. Though, even though they're being very stingy about it, and they're not going to be able. They just don't want to do it because I don't know why. People would love to be able to crap on these titles. So yeah, it is a big of it is a very important issue, man, because it's a part of art, and it should be able to be preserved. So the next generation of people can look at these games, or the next game developers have an idea to be able to be inspired to see how these games were originally developed and get brand new ideas from.
Very much so. I apologize for yelling. It's very early in the morning. I kind of woke up just an hour ago.
Boy,
but
you've been gaming too long.
No, seriously, I did woke up just like literally an hour ago. So it's like iffy. But anyway, regardless, it is true that a lot of games are being lost to time due to these digital storefronts not wanting to preserve their games because they consider them a financial like burden on them. And as mentioned in this article, it's just that it's frustrating for developers, like sole developers, being able to just like publish their own games, because like obviously publishing on your own like storefront would cost way more money. So obviously a lot of people would just rather put it on someone else's storefront like Steam or Epic Games or GOG and just let them have it. But even then, there's always that one small little risk that like if they go down, your game goes down with it, and it's kind of just frustrating in this all digital world that we're being forced into, and as consumers, we don't have any protections. It's just kind of frustrating that again, this is the whole going on for the different topic. This is basic again what the whole Stop Killing Games movement in EU has been all about. Is just like trying to give these developers something to preserve these games when the developers or the publishers no longer want to sell or host these games. It's just something to just hand it over to the players would be so beneficial. Like one example that I really liked is that one game I used to play with friends called Knockout City hosted by EA. I forget the developer's name, but the once that game was out of service, they decided, okay, we're going to put the server files online so you can host your own servers and continue playing this game for like years to come. Same thing with the folks at Splash Damage, the people that made Brink and Wolfenstein Enemy Territory. When Nexon decided to shut down their one game, Dirty Bomb, they did the very same thing. They gave the rights back to Splash Damage and said, okay, now the game is just completely free to play. And not even free to play, it's just completely free. You can just like all the cards and the characters are available for all the maps. You can host your own rooms, host your own servers. They also did the same thing for Brink, even though that was a complete retail game. They said it's just available for free now. Anyone can download and play Brink, which is a game that in hindsight was just okay back in the day. I mean, I really liked what they had the idea for it. I like this parkour running gun team based shooter, which was really cool, but it has
A
some
little
really
half-baked.
half-baked ideas, yeah. And the visual style was not everybody's cup of tea, but I really enjoyed it for what it is. And going back to it, you can kind of feel the jank. You can see the vision, but you can feel the jank. Is what I had to say of like Brink. But yeah, that's just an example. It's just how I feel.
No, and you're absolutely right. It is kind of important for when these games do tend to go offline, when the servers are up. I think one of the most important things that a lot of these developers should have be able to give out free DRM, free
Yeah.
available sites to the game, so people should be able to have the opportunity to be able to host this, or for, like you said, for people to be able to enjoy and be able to preserve these games too, which is I think it's a really big issue. Other things too about this, I was trying to hopefully look up, but another thing that we also have to talk about is how we can contribute as gamers and be able to preserve these. So a lot of the simple ones you can do is try to buy the game physical. Just try to go to your GameStop or to your local video game store that you support, or even purchase it off Amazon or online and just try to get the physical copy of the game, because
I
I think that's
mean,
one of the steps that you can do it.
it is. It's a step in most cases. It's a fifth. It's a gamble.
Which it is tough now. I understand, especially with like what Nintendo's doing with their key card nonsense.
It's not, yeah, with key, not even just the key cards. It's just the simple fact that even a lot of these quote unquote physical games still require an online connection,
Yes.
which is incredibly frustrating. Kind of half defeats the purpose
Of even having the physical copy.
of owning a physical
and,
copy.
And that is true. Like, but maybe you can, that at least having some kind of physical copy, at least you feel like there is a workaround with how technology is kind of progressing. There is kind of a workaround where you can still be able to preserve the game without, you know, you can bypass the security locks and still be able to preserve the game at the same time, though, which also goes back to these companies should offer a DRM free version of the game too, for main own. But there's other things too, like you save your installers, your patch files, your DLCs, and even your external hard drives to be able to put on copies on there. There are also some really cool support preservation groups too that are trying their best, like you said, like we do, like one of the ones we did announce were what the project, the movement that's happening in the EU in order to be able to
stop
preserve
killing
games,
games.
stop killing games. There's also called the Video Game History Foundation, that's also trying to protect the Software Preservation Network.
Yeah, I think I heard of that one.
Yep. And then there's the Internet Archive, which also it's mostly for more internet stuff, but also does preserve games as well. On top of that, and like I said, definitely just sit down and share information to your local people about this topic too. I think it's an important piece of art that games need to be preserved, and not just in America too. Also everywhere around the country. Even Japan is struggling to keep a lot of their old games too. A lot of their games are starting to disappear as well, due to just simply being lost in time. And it's cool that I think I like you said. I know people feel a little bit sketchy about GOG in terms of how their relationships and how they handle their games, but at least they are trying to put their foot in the right place in order to hopefully be a decent beacon and at least shed light about the loss about the games. So
I mean, yeah, hopefully, with the certain like things that are happening here and there, and more people starting to speak out against the loss of games due to these digital storefront and payment processors trying to crack down on what you can't buy. I do hope that more people will start to give more focus to preserving these games. Sorry, again, early morning.
preserve these games.
Usually not this scattered brain, but it's early. But
and also to add to that too, also another way to be able to preserve games is to emulate them. and
Obviously, yeah. Obviously not.
as well as do it respectfully in a legal manner right now. But to be able to emulate these games, to be able to put that on the side is also a great way to be able to continue to preserve these games as well.
Emulation has always been legal as long as you own the physical copy of the
Correct.
game and why not. It's just that obviously people put them on websites, for
Which is
others to
illegal
download.
without yeah.
That is the illegal part. So, and obviously trying to have a system where you could prove that you have the physical copy before you can download like a ROM is obviously a very sketchy thing to work on. I mean, it's possible, but it's just like not feasible.
It's not feasible though, but it is an option.
Hopefully someone will figure out something to make it feasible. But yeah, overall, it's just like, again, we gotta protect these games because like they're just being lost to time and way too many to count. So anyway, what do you think about what we discussed here today? Do you think that GOG is right on the ball with this game preservation? Do you feel that games need to be preserved more? Do you feel that they need to be preserved a little bit less? Let us know. And if you like what we do here, please rate, comment, and subscribe. I'm Mike with Isaac, and we are saying peace.